So you're making a game. Awesome. But let's be real. There's this constant tug of war, right? You've got this amazing artistic vision, this world you're dying to build. But then there's the other side of the coin. It's got to sell. It has to survive out there in the real world. And here's the kicker. How you decide to make money, that's going to dictate almost every single design choice you make. It's a total tightrope walk between passion and profit. So, how do you do it? Let's dive in and figure it out.
Right off the bat, you've got to ask yourself the big question. What is this thing you're building? Is it a pure art project? Something you're making for the love of it? And hey, if you can afford to just give it away, great. Or is this a business, a product that absolutely positively has to make money? Being honest with yourself right here, right now, that's what sets the stage for everything that comes next. The design, who you're even making it for, all of it.
All right, so here's the plan. We're going to start with the two basic ways devs get paid. Then we'll look at the old school direct payment models, the classics. After that, we'll jump into the indirect models that have totally taken over the industry. We'll even zoom out to see how this all works in different countries, and then we'll tie it all together to see how money really truly shapes the very soul of a game. Okay, let's get into it. When you boil it all down, there are really only two main ways to get paid for a game. Think of it like a fork in the road. It seems simple, but depending on which path you take, well, it leads to completely different worlds, for you and for the player. So, on one path, you've got direct payment. This is the classic deal. You pay money, you get the game. Simple, right? But on the other path is indirect payment, and man, this is where things get a lot more interesting and complicated. The game itself might be free, but the money's got to come from somewhere, whether that's from selling things inside the game, running ads, you name it. Okay, let's start with the one we all know, the one we probably grew up with, direct payment. This is where you just buy the game, either all at once or maybe in pieces. It's the oldest trick in the book, and honestly, it's the most straightforward way to do business. The classic retail model, a shiny box on a store shelf, it's still a huge deal for consoles. And why? I'll give you one word: Christmas. I mean, come on, think about it. Unwrapping a game on Christmas morning, it's a ritual. That feeling of holding the physical box is just powerful. But if you're the developer, this model means you're not going it alone. You need a publisher to deal with all the messy stuff, making the discs, the marketing, and getting those boxes into the big stores. All right, so you're in the store, you see that big new AAA title. The price tag says, what, $50? Seems pretty straightforward. You pay, you play. But where does that $50 actually go? Well, its journey is way more complicated than you'd think. And this is where it gets crazy. You ready for this? After the store takes its cut, and the console maker takes their fee for making the actual disc, and the publisher takes this giant chunk for marketing and shipping, the actual developer, the people who poured their blood, sweat, and tears into making the game, they might see, get this, $1.50. $1.50. It's wild. So what's the fallout from all that? Well, because the stakes are so ridiculously high and the actual profit for the creators is so thin, publishers get super, super cautious. They're terrified of what's called inventory risk. Just picture thousands of unsold boxes of their game collecting dust in a warehouse. That fear means they'd much rather bet on a sure thing, a guaranteed hit, than take a chance on something new, something experimental, or, creatively risky. So, faced with those brutal retail numbers, what did developers do? They got creative. They had to. You saw the rise of digital storefronts, like Steam, which let them cut out the retailer and keep a way bigger slice, like 70%. The catch? They had to do all their own marketing. Then you have subscriptions, which are awesome for a steady paycheck if you're making an ongoing game. Episodic content made it cheaper for players to just try the first chapter. And of course, crowdfunding, just skipping the publisher entirely and going straight to the fans for money. A total game changer. Okay, let's switch tracks completely and talk about the models that absolutely turned the industry on its head, especially on mobile. Indirect payments. The genius here is that they remove the single biggest reason someone doesn't play your game, the price. You just let them play for free, and then you figure out other ways to make your money. And the undisputed king of free is the freemium model. It's exactly what it sounds like, a mix of free and premium. This is the model that built dynasties on smartphones. The game itself, totally free to download and play. But once you're in, you can buy stuff, what we call in-app purchases or IAPs. Could be a cool new skin for your character, could be a power-up to get you past that level you're stuck on. You get the idea. This brings us to the really tricky balancing act for any freemium game. See, if the free version isn't fun, nobody's going to stick around. But if the free version gives away everything, then nobody's going to pay for anything. And when a game gets that balance totally wrong, when the free version feels like it's been deliberately broken just to make you pay, well, players have a not-so-nice name for that. They call it crippleware.
And that tightrope walk leaves us to one of the biggest design traps you can fall into: pay to win. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's when you can literally buy your way to victory, getting a real competitive edge over people who don't pay. It just turns the game into a contest of who has the biggest wallet, not who has the most skill. It completely breaks the whole idea of fair play, and it's pretty much the fastest way to turn your community toxic.
Freemium isn't the only flavor of free, though. You've got free-to-play, where the whole game is there, but man, does it test your patience. The whole design is about tempting you to pay to speed things up. Then there's the simple advertising model. You play for free, you watch some ads. Sometimes companies will even sponsor a game, so you'll see a real-world brand on the billboard in a racing game. And hey, sometimes a client, like a charity or something, just pays a developer to build a game, and then they give it away for free. All right, so we've got the models down. But here's the thing. Picking the right one isn't just about your game design. It's also about geography. What players want, what they value, what they can even afford. It's wildly different all over the world. A model that kills it in the US could be a complete and utter dud in Japan. So let's take a quick world tour of the big traditional markets. You've got the USA. It's massive, it's diverse, but it is brutally competitive. Then there's Europe, where players often lean towards darker stories, but you've got to deal with a whole mess of different languages and rating systems. And then there's Japan. It's just its own universe, with really unique tastes for stuff like RPGs and dating sims. It's a notoriously tough market to break into if you're not from there. But what about the future? You have to look at the emerging markets. China has a gigantic audience, but a history of piracy basically forced everyone into online and freemium games that are harder to steal. Plus, you've got strict government censorship. In India, the future of gaming is all on mobile phones, not consoles, and it's a very socially conservative culture. Latin America is exploding, with Brazil and Mexico leading the charge. And the huge, diverse Islamic world, that requires a lot of cultural sensitivity in your design. Okay, so we've looked at direct payments, indirect payments, the whole world map, and it all leads back to one single, inescapable truth. Your plan for making money is a core part of your game design. They're not separate things. They are completely tangled up together. And that's why this isn't a decision you make at the end of development. No way. You have to be thinking about this from day one. Because a game you sell in a box, a game you sell in episodes, and a freemium game, they aren't just paid for in different ways. They are fundamentally built in different ways, from the ground up. It affects the mechanics, the pacing, literally the entire experience for the player. Look, at the end of the day, every single path we've talked about comes with trade-offs. You're always balancing creative freedom against financial reality, player fairness against profitability, making a game for a small, passionate audience versus trying to build the next global blockbuster. So the real question isn't just what game do you want to make, it's what kind of business are you willing to build to make it happen? So, what's it going to be?